Hi, I'm Andres, lead media buyer here for Linx Digital, and in today's video, we're gonna be talking about Performance Max campaigns. So again, by now you guys have heard it's already been rolled out as of like 6 months ago, more or less. The Performance Max campaign is here to stay. Now, if you're a shopping advertiser, a Google shopping advertiser, YouTube advertiser, this is fairly important to take note of why you should use Performance Max or why you should maybe hold off from using it, specifically if you're a shopping advertiser. The reason being is because Performance Max campaigns does take up some impression share from your Google shopping campaigns. So that can and will affect your performance overall on the shopping campaign. So if you have those dialed in, the suggestion is you would hold off on creating these campaigns. But eventually you might want to experiment with Performance Max because it is an automated bidding strategy that does use up cross-inventory assets for your campaigns. So according to Google, Performance Max is a new goal-based campaign format that uses multiple inventory for showing your advertisements, right? So we're talking about YouTube, Discover, Search, as well as Display. So all of these are the different inventories available on the Google network, on the different search display network. But this is one of the particular, let's say, characteristics of this campaign type is all you have to do is provide a specific amount of assets, whether it's textual, video, as well as images, so that way we can tell Google to do all the legwork for us, right? So as Google advertisers, we know that there are automated bidding strategies such as target CPA, max conversions, when we select the drive conversions as a subtype goal, right? With Performance Max, it's no different. You can also select between target CPA and max conversions. So that's what makes it an automated bidding strategy that is cross-inventory. One of the caveats of Performance Max campaign is one, that you will have some impression share issues if you have Google shopping campaigns, as well as some branded search campaigns on Google, right? So you need to be very careful when you are launching these Performance Max because it can affect the performance of your already active campaigns and the different campaign types that you have. So that is one of the most important things that you need to consider when and if you should use Performance Max. Now, from my experience specifically, I've actually used it on e-commerce, right? So if you're in e-commerce, then it is strongly advised to consider Google Shopping versus Google Search and using Performance Max. We've tried Performance Max on other accounts that are, let's say, not e-commerce related. And even though we got very low cost per click, right? We're talking 26 euro cost per click on particular Performance Max, but it didn't necessarily convert as well as other formats. So that's where you have to kind of make the decisions, and depending on what you are offering, depending on the niche that you're in, then Performance Max might be the right fit for you, or it just might be another format that you can try out, but it might not be all that worth it, right? So if you're in e-commerce, then it's very likely that it can work for you because what it does is the Performance Max does connect to your merchant. You have the option to connect it to your merchant account, which in essence is what is being used when you advertise on your shopping ads, right? Those are the things that you need to consider with Performance Max, especially if you're in e-commerce. What is the Performance Max campaign format made up of? So it's made up of different assets: text, images, videos, right? So the text, you would have to create some copy very similar to how you would do it on responsive display or even search, right? So you have headline and you can also add in some descriptions. The other thing that you can do is, again, connect it to your other accounts such as Google My Business, the Google Merchant Center, which is your merchant account, your dynamic ads feed, and your business data feeds. One thing that I love about Performance Max is you have the ability to provide Google insightful data when it comes to your audience signals, right? So one thing that I've done in the past is I've created a mixture of warm campaign, right, with combined cold audiences. Usually performs quite well, right? Specifically, again, for e-com, it's a very, very powerful way to tell Google, hey, I want to target my visitors and I want to expand on my audience by selecting those options. And I can select any of the custom audiences that you created, whether it's custom affinity, custom intent. You can select those in the audience targeting option inside the Performance Max format. Performance Max helps you drive performance based on your specified conversion goals, right? And they do this in real time. So Google is telling us, provide us the assets, select the audience signals, first party data, and we'll be able to do all the legwork, which is showing the ad to different people that are lower down in the funnel, right? So again, you can do a mixture of warm and cold on a specific Performance Max, and Google takes care of basically automating that audience search for you, right? So presenting the ads to new audiences that have more buy intent or have the potential to convert a lot more, right? So it does combine the automation technologies across bidding, budget optimization, audiences, creatives, attribution, and more to basically empower the specific advertising objective. So I'm gonna show you now on my screen an example of a Performance Max campaign that we created for an e-com brand, where right now we are scaling up slowly but surely. We're at $300 a day, but this is one example that you can glean from. So this is the Performance Max campaigns. And basically you can see here, $300 a day budget. You can see the CPCs are generally lower on Performance Max format. This has been one of the patterns that we've seen recently. So you can see this is a recent campaign. We can do all time, or let's do last 30 days. And obviously we blocked out the information for privacy reasons, but you can see here, the bid strategy is max conversion. This particular campaign, it already has over 20,000 clicks, but most importantly, it has over 420 purchases. And I can show you the ROAS here by time. Total cost, $18,596. And the ROAS for this is 1.97, right? So almost a 2x ROAS. And this is again, a takeover from a shopping campaign that they had before. And you can kind of almost see here that the CPC is much higher for the shopping campaigns that was going on here compared to this Performance Max. So with Performance Max, it's made up of a few things here. So let me just show you deep inside this Performance Max campaign. Asset groups. So these asset groups basically are what I mentioned earlier, which would be the images, the text, and video. So you can see here, this is some of the images that are used. We can actually go inside edit assets so we can see. Here on the right side, you could actually see the audience signal, right? So you can see that this is a remarketing mix. So I essentially selected a few audiences, people who have added to the cart 30 days. You obviously have to set these up prior to being able to select these audience types. But you can see the power of this is we use different assets and different audiences, a combination of cold and warm audiences for these assets, right? So you can see here, the ad strength is excellent. They usually try to launch things like that following, best practices is usually the way to go. And this is usually how this shows up, right? So it's no different from, your regular or standard display ad or video ad, but essentially you basically are giving away the control to Google. And then they're doing that heavy work, as I mentioned, to showing it to the best possible candidate that will convert, okay? So that's basically Performance Max. It's really not something that's hard to set up. Again, you would need to do a little bit of linking and syncing in terms of the accounts that you want to use. So in this case, we have the Merchant Center account for this particular client, and the different images that we use, the logos. We have 3 videos that are based off of best YouTube ads or YouTube videos that are working as ads, and we include those in here. And then you'll need to add some headlines that have up to 30 characters and long headlines that are up to 90 characters as well. And here's the descriptions, of course. So there you have it. This is an example of the Performance Max. You can see that cost per conversion is great. The CPCs on this is amazing, and not necessarily that this will work for every single e-com account. It's very possible that there might be accounts out there, they tried it and they just kind of bombed, but there might have not been something set up properly, right? So you have to also have a specific optimizations when it comes to your data feed, right? So if you're connected to the Merchant Center, just ensure that your shopping ads and your configurations there are set up properly. So one thing I didn't show you is where to actually create it. Very simple. Once you're in your campaign objective, you choose your objective, whether it's sales, leads, website traffic. Normally, if it's e-commerce, we're gonna go with sales, obviously. You wanna ensure you have the conversion tracking set up properly, right? As you can see here, this is the conversion goal set up. You go to continue, and then you're gonna see the Performance Max here, right? It still even has the icon there of new. And that's basically it. And you just continue on, select it, and here you have the opportunity to select a merchant account, right? So if you already have a merchant account because you've ran Google Shopping ads before, then you could just select that particular merchant account to link it with it, okay? Select the country, obviously, the campaign name, and then you just continue essentially with the campaign creation process. Here, this is where you can select the budget and bidding, right? You even have a little bit of explanation here about the budgets, bidding strategy that you want to use. Here you have the campaign settings where you can select the language, the location, right? So your geo-targeting. And the asset groups is where you're gonna be essentially putting all of it together, right? Putting all the pieces to the puzzle together, where you're gonna add the images, you're gonna add the logos, the videos. This is the listing group essentially. And we have the audience signal, which is where you want to select the different audiences. So notice here, I have this combination. You can go here and select the new audience. You enter the audience name, right? This example, combined. And again, you can do by custom segments, meaning you can go ahead and browse whatever custom audiences you've created inside the audience manager. You're going to see them here. And you can just select these. You can even select up to, I think you can select a whole bunch here. Generally, we want to have a little bit more control, right? And not have too many variables inside. So kind of the same rule of thumb with our campaigns on YouTube, we want to do one targeting setting per ad group, right? And per campaign. So you can do that. I generally like to combine it with the Performance Max. This is what I've seen has worked better. That's what I showed you earlier. So you can just basically do, okay, I want to do YouTube users, people who viewed the ad in the last 3 days, for example, right? Have a video ad, or you can do the website visitors, right? If you have these audiences created, even better, right? So cart last 30 days, you know, people who ordered in the last 7 days. So there's just a few audiences. This will vary obviously according to, you know, how rich the data that you have. You can even do the in-market, Google stock audiences, right? So you can even, instead of doing this, you can do the Google stock audience along with your, you know, with your data, right? First party remarketing list data. And of course, demographic, you know, they're saying that they recommend all, but you can obviously make adjustments here. So that's pretty much it. And then after that is, you know, you can also add call extensions in here, call out extensions, very similar to the Google search. And that's it. And when you hit the summary, you're able to go through all of the changes, all the setup, and make it happen. So you can see it's quite simple. Doesn't really take a whole lot of effort. All you need to ensure that you have before you launch these campaigns is enough assets, right? You have good assets, you have a good Google shopping list if you're running shopping, and of course, video. So there you have it. That was Performance Max inside Google Ads. Is it worth it? In my opinion, I'd say it is worth it depending on what stage of your business you're in, right? If you're just starting out, you're not really doing Google Shopping like that, you're not really doing Google Search or display, then I would probably start with those other formats first in those networks, and then work your way up to using Performance Max. Especially if you're a one-man team, you definitely want to establish the basis first, because what happens is you have the combination of all these inventories that Google provides you with, but you don't have data, right? You don't have historical data that you're providing Google to basically work with, enhance your conversions, your performance. But if you have all this data, you're already using video, you're already doing search and display, you're just now automating a certain aspect of your account. And again, if you're a one-man show, this is music to your ears because you don't have to monitor it as close as if you were doing a manual Google search campaign, for example, right? So that is essentially the benefit of Performance Max. All right, so that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching our video. Please don't forget to hit like, subscribe, turn on the notifications so you can get notified once we drop some more YouTube video knowledge for you, YouTube ad knowledge. We'll see you on the next one.